start. Good afternoon. Welcome you all to the first webinar of this second Innovate call. This first webinar is led by Politecnico di Milano. Specifically, my name is Giorgia Purzio. I'm a PhD student from the Department of Design, and I work at the In Transit together with Professor Venere Ferraro, which is also connected to this call. The title of this webinar is Sustainability and Circular Economy in Practice, Strategies and Tools to be Implemented by SMEs. Okay, what are we gonna talk about today? We will be introducing a circular economy principle and practices that can have an impact for sustainable transition. More specifically, we will be overseeing the 9R strategies, how to implement them through some practical case studies and examples. So there will be a first part a bit more, let's say, theoretical on definitions and conceptualization, and a second part a bit more practical. This part will take approximately 45 minutes. So we will have plenty of time for discussion and Q&A. So I invite you all to write your questions in the chat or in your computer, and we can come back to that later. Okay, before starting with defining what circular economy is, we kind of want to propose you this visual scheme that is sort of a circular vision and understanding to circular economy. Because circular economy might seem quite a broad and in a way abstract concept, but it has very practical and concrete, let's say, consequences and applications to the SMEs and to businesses in general. So we believe it's important to gather a sort of a general knowledge to begin with, and I am pretty sure that you all already have a general knowledge, or at least that you're interested in these topics because you're, taking part in this program, and this shows an interest in this. So you might already gathered a general knowledge that is kind of like in this ideal scheme a point zero. This general knowledge, of course, should be implemented through time. It's not something that we gather at the beginning, but we need to keep ourselves up to date, because there are technological developments, but also legislation developments. Especially in the context of EU, we know that things changes and we need to be up to date. But then, of course, you as SMEs want to move to a more contextual knowledge about what a circular economy might mean for your specific SME, in your specific field, and in your specific sector. So you might want to employ one or another circular strategy. But again, you might want to get even more, let's say, specific. So adapt specific tools for specific case studies, a specific material, or a specific production process. Let's say, for instance, that you are a sportswear company. So you relate to the field of textile or technical textile. So you might want to use a circular strategy, for instance, of, let's say, life cycle design. Then you discover a very interesting, relevant material that you could approach and that you could use. So you might want to use some circular tool, such as, for instance, life cycle assessment, to assess if that specific material could be, first of all, useful for you, and what kind of environmental impact it might have. So as we can see from this scheme, it's both having a general knowledge on legislation and some kind of more abstract understanding of circularity, but this will also become something very practical that you can approach and incorporate in your own production process and business plan. So we saw a circular vision. Now let's try to define circular economy and see which are its founding principles. Of course, as you might imagine, there are many definitions available of what circular economy is, and each sector or institution has its own perhaps perspective on the topic. For this webinar, we chose to use two definitions from two very important institutions. The first is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is, as you might already know it, a non-profit organization which produces evidence-based research on the advantages of circular economy and circular models. And the other one is from the European Parliament, which is, of course, a leading institution having an international impact on legislations. So we start with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I'm going to read the definition. The circular economy is a system where materials never become waste and nature is regenerated. In a circular economy, products and materials are kept in circulation through processes like maintenance, reuse, refurbishment, remanufacture, recycling, and composting. The circular economy tackles climate change and other global challenges like biodiversity loss, waste, pollution, by decoupling economic activity from the consumption of finite resources. Okay, it's quite a intense definition. It says a lot of things, but we highlighted in bold the, let's say, the most relevant and important parts, which are materials never become waste. So in this sort of system, products and materials are kept in circulation and are maintained in a sort of production loop or loops, plural, through different strategies that can engage in the process in different phases and having, of course, different impacts. On the other hand, this definition is also proposing that the consumption of finite resources is something that is not economically viable and not an advantage for businesses. So while in the linear economy, it's something that is economically more, it gives an advantage to produce waste. In this economy, it's actually more convenient for SMEs to incorporate circular strategies and circular models in their business. And one last thing is nature is regenerated. This regenerative paradigm will come back also later on during this presentation. So keep that in mind. So a circular economy, as we said, it does not contemplate waste, or at least the least possible amount. Of course, we're far from a perfect model, but the ideal goal will be to not produce any waste. So the model follows a design, make, use, and reuse approach. And the economy is based on three principles, which are driven by design, meaning that they should be incorporated already in the design phase of products and systems, which are eliminate waste and pollution, circulate products and materials at their highest value. This is very important because it's not just try to put back in the cycles, in the loops, products and materials as they are, but trying to make it as they are put back in place at their highest value and their highest quality as possible. And we will come back to this later again. And regenerate nature. So in this sort of following these principles, this system is not only good for environment, but is also good for business and people. And this sort of regenerative paradigm suggests that we are not only, let's say, protect nature or trying to reach a zero environmental impact, but the aim is trying to achieve a positive environmental impact. So not only protect, but also, let's say, foster and restore and make nature prosper. So it's a kind of a shift, paradigm shift towards positive impact. Uh, this seems like a very complex scheme, and again, we will quickly explain this, but it basically visualize what they mean by circular system. This is also from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and of course there are also links on the presentation, so you can maybe read more about it. And there's also a video on the website which explains this scheme. But basically, what we see here are two different type of fluxes that are present in a circular economy model. On the right, the blue fluxes are called the technical fluxes. So all these materials that are not getting exhausted during the use, so steel or wood or these technical materials that in a way can be again put back in place in the process on different level and during different moments. While on the left we see the green fluxes, which are the biological fluxes, where all the biomaterials and organic materials can also as well come back and go back to the let's say the beginning of the cycle. As said, they can be brought back through different strategies. In this presentation, we, let's say, focus more on the technical fluxes, let's say, because the strategies that are presented are more related to that kind of products and materials. So we saw this first understanding of circular economy from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and their website is very full of relevant and interesting sources. So I invite you to follow the links then in this presentation, and you can go and see better all these topics. But again, of course, we might have the chance to also have individual sessions so we can explore them further. Let's now see the second definition, which we will see that is not, of course, in contrast of the previous one, but it just has a different interpretation to circular economy. So the European Parliament defines circular economy as a model of production and consumption, which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. In this way, the life cycle of products is extended. In practice, it implies reducing waste to a minimum. When a product reaches the end of its life, its materials are kept within the economy wherever possible thanks to recycling. This can be productively used again and again, thereby creating further value. Okay, so what do we see here in this definition? Let's look again at the part in bold. So circular economy is, of course, a model of production and consumption. So the strategies are applicable not only during the production phase, but also in the consumption phase. So it's an economy that involves SMEs, institutions, politics, but also citizens and user and consumers. So these practices are also sort of a shared responsibility in a way. And all these practices make the life cycle of products longer. So this is also another interpretation. So it doesn't mean that we have to produce less in a way, or no produce at all. This means that we need to produce better, in a smarter way, in a more efficient way, in order to make the products more efficient and use them in a smarter way. After the products are used, of course, we should reduce waste to a minimum, and if not, let's say, if we arrive at the end life of products, at least use a recycling process to put back some materials in the loop to create further value. That is not only an ecological value, but also an economical one, coming from, again, European Parliament. So this, let's say, it's the closest, this first more theoretical part on definitions. We saw these two definitions from the Ellen MacArthur and the European Parliament. I want to close this first part with a sort of a very contemporary, let's say, phenomena, visual phenomena, which is, as you might already know it, it's the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's the largest zone of floating trash on Earth, and it's located, I believe, between California and Hawaii, and it's supposed to be larger than Texas. But the kind of interesting thing about this phenomena is that we might all think that the garbage patch is made out of disposable plastics that we use every day. So I don't know, plastic bottles or packaging and so on and so forth, that we are, of course, all trying to avoid, both on an individual level as citizen, but also institutions are trying to avoid. But actually, a recent study pointed out that almost half of the plastic contained in the garbage patch is actually coming from the fishing industry. And this includes fishing gears and ropes, oyster spaces, and so on and so forth. And the fishing industry is actually not just one big entity, but it's a sector composed by individuals and people, or like small, bigger companies and smaller companies and businesses. But at the end of the day, there are also many individuals. And the kind of trigger part is that the fishing industry relies on a healthy ocean to prosper, because if the oceans are polluted and not healthy, of course, the fishing industry will cease to exist. So most of the time when applying circular practices within businesses, it actually something that not only helps the environment as something far away from us or from the company itself, but most of the time is something that improves the condition of the same environment in which the companies want to prosper and innovate and so on and so forth. So let's look more in a practical way how this circular economy can be put into place. So for a system of production to be circular, of course, it has to be designed as a circular system, meaning that, as we already said before, materials and energies might be reintroduced back into this self-sustaining system. Of course, ideally self-sustaining as much as possible at this moment. This is a very, of course, simplified scheme of a circular system, which starts from a materials extraction. Ideally, this extraction will be taking place from materials that have been recovered or recycled. When not possible, it will be from raw materials. These materials will be distributed through and in different sectors and areas. They will be transformed for production. And then after production, simple products or more complex products, such as product service systems, will be distributed to either consumers or users. These people, us, we will be using such products hopefully until they function. And when they stop functioning, they will be dismissed. So in the last phase, this mission, you see two different paths. And let's say that one, the yellow-orange one, it's more following a linear economy model in which the dismissed products become waste. And that's it. It will end up probably in a recover phase, so incinerated, or in even worse, in landfills. But if we follow the other flow, so if we follow the blue arrow, we go back to the system. We go back into the loop through these 9 R's. And now we will see what they are. There are 9 strategies for circularity. So here in bullet point, the main characteristic of a circular system is that it has a systemic approach. So it follows the life cycle of products from cradle to grave, usually we say. It's a complex system which involves, of course, environment, infrastructure, industry, but also politics, economy, society, and so on. It's multidisciplinary, but it's also creative and collaborative. This because from adopting a circular system will give the chance to new ideas and innovative ideas and new business models to exist, which is also kind of one of the main goal of Intransit, is to foster a collaborative and creative mindset among SMEs in order for them to collaborate and propose new ideas that are more circular and more sustainable. So leveraging those strategies. Because as we said before, if a system is circular, this means that if for a specific company or someone's there's an output, this output can become eventually the input of someone else. So this kind of ideas, this kind of model needs creative ideas, new ideas. Okay, now we're getting more to a practical point. We will, as said before, oversee the 9 R's, which are 9 strategies to leverage circularity within production processes. So in 2017, this study, conceptualizing the circular economy, an analysis of 114 definitions, theorized the existence of these 9 R's. As said before, we proposed to you 2 definitions, and this is the proof of what I was saying before, that there are many different interpretations and definitions. And this article, this study, it's a proof of it. So they analyzed 114, and probably they didn't analyze all of them, but they selected the most relevant ones. And about this, we can say that when a topic or a theme is so researched by academia or institutions and so on, it's of course a positive thing, because well, it increased knowledge on the topic, and it makes this topic a relevant, urgent, and crucial matter for a contemporary society. But at the same time, it might create a little bit of ambiguity and confusion. So this study was very helpful in that sense. It's one of the many, of course. It's very helpful because it made a synthesis of many definitions and proposed this 9 R's framework. So these 9 R's are divided in 3 main categories. The first is smarter product use and manufacturing. The second, extend the life of products and their parts. And the third is useful material applications. And now we will see better how they placed those 9 R's. Okay, so this image is actually taken from the article. There's the source here and the link, so you can eventually read the study if you're interested. This scheme can be read in different way. Of course, I will start from the bottom to the top, but you can also read it on the other way around. But starting from the bottom, you see a blue on the left. You see a blue arrow going from linear economy to circular economy. And here you have the three different categories that I just mentioned. So on the bottom, we have useful application of materials, which include 2 R's, R9 recover and R8 recycle. These 2 strategies are the, let's say, less desirable ones for circularity because they are more towards a linear economy model. Then we have the second category, extend lifespan of products and its part, going from R7 repurpose, R6 remanufacture, R5 refurbish, R4 repair, and R3 reuse. We will see each one of them in detail with case studies. That's why I'm not reading the definition for each one of them, because I think it's easier to explain them with a practical case study. So in this category, these 5 R's correspond to strategies that aim to extend the life of products and their singular parts. This means that these strategies are not applied at the end life of products, such as recycle, but they're incorporated in the process a little bit before. So during, let's say, the use part. And these are getting towards reuse is already quite towards the top of the arrow, let's say, towards circular economy. And then we have the third category, smarter product use and manufacture, which include the 3 most, let's say, circular strategies, the most desirable ones, going from R2 reduce, R1 rethink, and R0, which is refuse. So this scheme, as said, can be read in different ways. For me, it's useful to read it from the bottom to the top, but now we will see the strategies going from R0 to R9. So just so you know, we will start with the ones that are more circular, so R0. And you might also have noticed that they are not actually 9, they are actually 10, because it starts from R0. So before seeing them one-on-one, here we try to place these different strategies within the circular model, circular system that we saw before. I'm not going to position each one of them, but just to see, for example, that that after material transformation, you might have some byproduct from the material transformation that might be, for instance, recycled. After production, you might use a reduce, for instance, strategy, or repair, and so on and so forth. Maybe we can eventually go back to this maybe during the Q&A. So now we can see first what they are with examples. And this is of course, again, a simplified version, because these strategies can be used in combination with one another, and they can be used, of course, not in a fixed way. There's not a fixed process or a fixed way to do things. There are 2 strategies that can be taken as responding to each one's individual needs, let's say. Okay, so we start with R0, refuse. Refuse is make a product redundant by abandoning its functions or by offering the same function with a radically different product. So the example that we chose to that we found quite accurate for this strategy is the Kindle. The Kindle, as you yeah, I'm sure you know, it's a portable device for reading, which is alternative to traditional books. So what is the difference? Is that with one product, you get the same function, also using quite a technology that reminds of the feeling of reading a paper book. Of course, it is not the same experience, but that's another topic. With one product, you get hundreds of different books. So the functions are at the end the same. So the goal of who buys a Kindle is still to read books, but through a complete different product. If you, again, I invite you, if you, while we see all these examples, if you think of similar examples, more appropriate examples, please write it down, and we can discuss it during the Q&A. So R1 is rethink, which is make product use more intensive. This is usually a strategy applied for all the sharing products and services, which is quite relevant for the mobility sector. So in this example, I mean, we chose this specific example, but there are, of course, many of them. We chose this one because it's quite recently appeared in Milan, but it's also available in Spain and France. And it's a zero emission car service, so electric cars that you can book through an app. And of course, this is quite straightforward because make your product use more intensive. So different citizens and people use the same product, which is at the same time less environmentally impactful than other cars driven by fuel. Then we have R2, reduce, which is increase efficiency in product manufacture or use by consuming fewer natural resources and materials. This example is quite technical. It's a carbon fiber made from cellulose, so from biomaterials. It's developed by the German Institute of Textile and Fiber Research. And this material is actually, other than being biocompatible, it's also way more efficient than other materials such as steel. So it can be employed in different sectors, including automotive and the construction sector as well. Then we have R3, reuse. So we just moved, if you remember the scheme, we moved from the first category that was smarter manufacturing towards an extend the lifespan of products with this first R, which is reuse. Reused by another user of discarded product, which is still in good conditions and fulfills its original functions. So this is the typical case of all the apps and services that allow citizens and users to swap, sell, and buy clothes, but not only clothes, of course, different type of goods, to create a stream of secondhand goods, as said, that can be reused by others. This is the example of Vinted, but there are many, many more examples that we can make of reuse. Then we have R4, repair and maintenance of defective products so they can be used with their original function. So this is the case study of Fairphone, which is a company that makes phones with their with the components inside not glued together, so they can be easily replaced by users with very simple tools when they are defected. I just want to point out that I mean, as you might imagine, this type of strategy has to be put in place already in the design phase, because Fairphone decided beforehand, so during the design and the ideation of its products, that the phone should be this way, that should be easy to repair and maintain from the users. So this is that type of strategy that has to be thought even before starting to design the actual phone. Then we have R5, refurbish, which is restore an old product and bring it up to date. So this is a famous case of refurbished, especially electronic devices. Apple just, not recently, because I think it's been a few years that he does that, but he hasn't always done it, let's say. Refurbish its devices with the original replacement parts. And this, of course, decrease waste. And at the same time, it's a sort of economic revenue for the company for them to do that. Then we have R6, remanufacture, which is use parts of discarded products in a new product with the same function. So for this strategy is quite relevant when it comes to very technical objects, such as engines. They can need remanufacture because they are objects composed by many parts, and when the whole object stops working, this doesn't mean that all parts are let's say exhausted or are at the end of their life. So they can be integrated in a new version of the same product, which has the same functions as the one before that was discarded. Then R7, we have repurpose, which is use discarded product or its part in a new product, but with a different function. So it's very similar to remanufacture, but if remanufacture, it's a new product that has the same function as the previous one. In repurpose, you might get a new product with a complete different function. So in this case study, it's more, let's say, interior design oriented, given, say, our background. And it's a research project carried out by design duo Forma Fantasma. They took parts of electronic devices and incorporated them in the design of this very sleek office furniture. And this type of projects, let's say, triggers a question about the relevance of using parts of the devices that could still be seen as objects themselves, let's say. Then we have R8, recycle. Recycle is process materials to obtain the same or lower quality. So in this last case studies, we see how Adidas used Sparley Ocean plastic thread to make one of their most famous shoes. And of course, this thread, it comes from ocean plastic, but we might see that this strategy requires way more energy than other strategies, because this thread has to be made and produced from ocean plastic. So it's more energy consuming, and that's why it's not that circular in a way. And then we have R9 recover with the incineration of materials with energy recovery. And as we said before, this is the least desirable strategy to apply. Okay, I think we're getting towards the end, and we can open up to Q&As. Just want to quickly show you what's, let's say, up next. So we just saw the 9R strategies, but are just one of the few that we can, that you and, let's say, we together can explore. Here you have different others that we listed with links, so you can look through them and see which one, let's say, works best for you. Same things with tools. You might want to use tools to implement in your model, such as, I don't know, we mentioned the life cycle assessment before, but there are many more that will also be covered in the next, webinars. And again, I invite you to write down our contacts. There's my email and Professor Ferraro emails here, so you can reach out to us and we can set up individual sessions together. And bibliography, and yeah, I think we can open up to discussion and Q&A. Thank you. Okay. Stop share. Okay, let's see if in the chat we have. Okay, so we have a question from Pedro Silva. I can read it from here. So in a consumer perspective, is there a label we can check in consumer goods regarding their compliance with the circular economy practices? Okay. Actually, I believe there is not a, let's say, regulation that companies must comply to. I think it's, let's say, up to them. And in this case, as consumers, we need to be mindful that greenwashing exists. And so, yeah, that companies can write or state that they do things that maybe either they don't actually do it or that they don't have the actual impact that they state they have. So from a consumer perspective, it's quite hard to know exactly what a company might do behind the scenes, let's say. I don't know if Professor Ferraro has more input on this, but sì.
Hi, can you hear me? So actually the company are not obliged to say anything about circular economy practices. Of course, this is something that if they do, they want to share. For instance, there is a French company that is called the Leroy Merlin that is investing a lot in applying circular economy practices. And this company is very much willing in telling the customer, the consumer about their practices. What the company has to give to the consumer as information is if the material has, for instance, with which a product is being realized, how to recycle it. These are, from normative point of view, the must-have information in a label.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have another question from Marco Righi. I'm applying for EPD in order to certificate the environmental footprint of my products. Do you have any other suggestions? Okay. So to certificate the environmental footprint of your product, did you, Marco, did you conduct any, like for instance, we mentioned the life cycle assessment, or did you maybe use strategies that you want to share with us?
Yeah, we ran a life cycle assessment with University of Bologna, and now the data we have, we were suggested to certificate this data.
Mm-hmm.
So we were also suggested to take the EPD, it means the environmental product declaration. But I saw there are so many other certifications you can take, for example, Remade or the ISO 40, and now I don't remember the number, sorry.
Okay, yeah, this is probably quite a relevant topic also from other people, I guess. And it's something that we might also investigate further. I don't know if this is a shared interest from anyone else from the audience that wants to jump in, if it's something that you might also, that you also encountered, this certifications.
I mean, I know, Europe is moving through banning the way to let everyone saying I'm green. You have to prove that you are green. You have to say I am green and I am that green. So that's the reason I'm thinking to move in that direction. Not only saying, okay, I'm eco-sustainable, yes, but how much and why?
Yeah, how much and why, and especially which would be, again, in this many different certifications, as you were suggesting, which one might be the most appropriate one.
Yeah, the most suitable one.
I think that the APD is one of the best things that you can do, because when you certificate the footprint, it means that you are telling your consumer how it will impact in terms of CO2 when you use it, when you recycle it, and at the end of the life cycle. But also the carbon footprint is related to the energy that you use for developing the product. So is one of the best way, because it covers from the production till the end of the product. So the consumer has all the information, relevant information about it.
And if I'm not wrong, but I'm not a specialist in this term, before there was a question concerning a potential label you can put on your product. Am I wrong, or once you have the EPD, they give you also the...
They give a certification. Yes, you can put it on your product. The idea that the question was related if there are some compliances about that. If a company has extra label and extra certification, of course, you can share it, but this is not mandatory. I mean, the carbon footprint, now we have a mandatory rule for the food, for the carbon footprint of certain food, but not for consumer goods.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Paula Samber. I found the concept and they work well in theoretical project or with smaller product using. Yes. Paula, I don't know if you want to put the question in your own words, or if you want a dedicated session. The answer is not easy and it's not quick because it's not. So Paula, are you there? Paula Samber?
Yes, I'm here. I have no camera. Sorry.
Okay, so she say, I found the concept of circular economy inspiring. It works well in theoretical project or with smaller products using innovative materials. However, when it comes to more complex products involving electronics and plastic components, how can we realistically apply circular economy principle in a way that create tangible impact? It's not true that it's theoretical and is applied just to small product. For instance, there are even companies that are developing disassemblable smartphone. So when it comes to electronic products, for sure, one of the best possible practices is to design for disassembly, so that you are sure that at the end of the life of the product, you can disassemble everything, and every piece of the electronics product could be recycled in a separate way. But another way is to design and develop a product that lasts longer. So as a company, to support the consumer into giving extra pieces when the product is broken, while right now we are living in an era where it's pretty impossible to substitute parts. So I think that there are several approaches, several paths to follow for being more sustainable when it comes with electronics. And again, at least to have the possibility to change pieces that are broken and not to be forced to throw away the product and buy another one.
Thank you so much for your answer.
Okay. And again, Paola, if you all want, you can send us an email as follow-up. José Pixoto, I don't know if I say it properly. Regarding the definition of circular economy, there is always the time factor. That is, there are processes that take time because a scale effect is necessary, other because the technology is still in its infancy. From this perspective, is there any time limit for considering a process technology as part of circular process? Is it just that in end everything ends up being circular? It's an interesting question, the matter of time. When the technology is in its infancy, one of the first possible approach for the production process is to think about alternative process that is not mass production, but maybe smart manufacturing, additive manufacturing, 3D printed, since right now it's possible to develop even big product with 3D printing, like super big product, so that you can test the efficacy of the product or of the technology without investing in a huge manufacturing processes that imply the use of a lot of energy. And on the other side, if there is the need of having a process that takes too much time, of course, you can go for best practices that are related to the usage of, I mean, you equip your company with solar panels so that you use solar energy or using recycled energy and so on. Of course, I don't have a univoc answer to your question. You might have different approach to solve this issue. I don't know if I answered your question, José.
Yes, most of it, sorry, most of it. The point is we have a process that is being developed, and it takes, for now, it takes like 5 years, let's imagine. So after 5 years, but it's still in the early stage, okay? So after 5 years, okay, it's not a circular process anymore. It's like a new process again. I mean, it took too much time to be reinserted in the economy. So when I ask about the time factor is if we take too much time, in the end, everything is circular because the materials evolve and new possibilities. I mean, new users will appear. But the question is there any time limit to consider that this is the timing to put to
No.
put it back again in the
No,
market? Sorry.
there is no time limit. I'm sorry. I
No,
thought
but your answer was it was also useful. But my question
no,
would
there
be
is
from
no
that
limit,
perspective.
and there are no regulation about that or indication about time limit.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Other questions? So I think that we are also okay. We are almost on time. 5 minutes later, but we started later as well to wait for people to connect. I thank you all for the participation. I hope you enjoyed, and there is a way to send you the presentation. We will find the way. I will talk with the colleagues of the consortium to understand how to forward or let you have the presentation where you also find all the links. And if you want, you can contact either me. I'm writing now the my email address. If you have more specific question, and we might have more time to discuss the topic further.
Thank you very much. Have a good day to all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Bye.
Great,
Bye.
great
you.
presentation.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good
Have a nice
afternoon.
afternoon.